Good morning and welcome to Franklin Tomorrow's Frank Talks. It's March 8th. I'm Mindy Tate, Executive Director of Franklin Tomorrow, and we've got a great panel for you today. Frank Talks are City Hall on wheels. So we've got some familiar faces on here and more will be popping in. But hi, Eric Stuckey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, everybody.
So you're going to give us the ABCs of Franklin City government today, right?
Absolutely. Look forward to it with some great help.
Is there a test though? I'm just worried there's a test and it's almost spring break. None of us really want a test.
There'll be no examination or research paper required. It's just information and hopefully interesting information.
Hopefully it will be interesting. I've seen the slides. So I've got the Cliff Notes, I guess, version of what's going on. So thanks so much. And we'll be back to you in a few minutes and you can hang on here. But Frank Talks is brought to you thankfully by our sponsors and partners, Renaissance Bank and Williamson Medical Center. And Patrick Baggett, I see you on here. Patrick, you're our new board president this year.
I am, and thank you. And again, to our sponsors, obviously Williamson Medical Center is such a huge part of our community. Always gracious in supporting the work of the community. And then Renaissance Bank, which we have Tony and Diane today. You guys make this possible, and the engagement and the positivity, the positive conversation we have through these events. The Frank Talks couldn't happen without you. So thank you both.
And Patrick, you see a familiar face on here, one of our board members representing Williamson Medical Center. Why don't you introduce her?
Yes, and so pass it over to Nicole Volk, Williamson Medical.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And coming to you live from the campus of Williamson Medical Center on this beautiful Monday morning. Thank you for having me. And of course, can't help but get on here and give a quick COVID update. That's always a hot topic, and things are looking a lot better. Our numbers are significantly down. I just think it's a great testament to keep at the mitigation efforts with the hand washing, the distancing, the mask wearing, and then of course now the vaccine, we're able to get one. So let's keep doing that. And I think hopefully we'll be able to get out of this at some point and get a little bit more back to normal.
It does seem impossible to think that it's been a year of dealing with this, but the vaccine, a new phase of the vaccination process starts today, and many more people will become eligible to receive that, and that will certainly make this a situation easier to deal with.
Absolutely. It's like 1.1 million Tennesseans are going to be eligible in this phase. It just started this morning. So that's really encouraging. And yes, on Friday was, if you can believe it, the 1 year anniversary of the first COVID patient. And actually Williamson Medical Center had the first COVID patient in Tennessee, if you can remember back to then. So we did some things to commemorate that here, and kind of we'll be looking back at the milestones throughout the month of March. Just it's a good healing process to reflect and look back. So,
but as we look back, we know that healthcare really didn't stop in other arenas and other areas. So you have a video for us. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as the weather is getting more beautiful and the sun shines out, we're all going to be out being more active, which is fantastic. But sometimes that comes with injuries or realizing that you've been having an ailment and it's kind of holding you back. So wanted to kind of educate everyone this morning real quick on our partner, the Bone and Joint Institute, has some convenient options for you with a couple of orthopedic urgent cares that are, one is in Nolensville, that's a new one we just opened, and one in Thompson Station. And then there's a walk-in clinic here on the main campus in Franklin. And, if you get out there and realize my knee's hurting or something's hurting, you can walk in and it's just kind of convenient. So wanted to bring this video really quick just to explain a little bit more about what that is and what that means. So I'll let the video speak for itself. And thank you again, everyone, for having me.
So orthopedic urgent care is kind of a specialized walk-in clinic that really focuses on orthopedic issues. You get injured working in the yard, you get injured on the sports field, sprains, strains, we see fractures, we see dislocations. We have urgent in the name because we do see acute injuries here, but we also see long-standing issues. So if you've had knee pain for months, we're happy to see you. We have x-ray on site, so you don't have to worry about going to some other location to get your x-rays and then come back. We have all the bracing, we have casting, splinting, everything to really kind of stabilize your injury and to help start your treatment. And a lot of our locations are actually coupled with one of our physical therapy locations. And so we can even get you set up to get started moving again, stronger, and really back on track. We just ultimately want to get you feeling better and back into the activities that you'd like to do.
I was lucky enough to get into bone and joint recently for a hand injury, and so I really appreciate that, Nicole. And thanks so much. And we'll see you soon. I can do that now. I couldn't do it before. I had trigger finger for some reason. So thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Patrick, we've got some other guests from Renaissance Bank.
Yes, welcome back, Tony and Diane. Glad to have you back. What's going on at Renaissance?
Good morning, and thanks for having us. Tony and I are teaming up here, and we're out here on a beautiful Monday morning. Columbia Avenue is looking great, looking over at the police station and Chief Faulkner, and all looks well. Nice to be here in the office and able to communicate with our clients and be here for them. Our doors are definitely open, and we are focusing on spring as well, and happy to help anyone with any spring cleaning they want to do on their finances, and be here for them, whatever their needs are. It's a March morning, and March is, we're focusing on our mobile app for Renaissance Bank. And as we've already seen with Nicole and Mindy talking about being out and about, and bone and joint, feel like that really got us going and got us motivated here. But we're looking at our mobile app. So while you're out and about, you can always have your mobile app with you wherever you are to access your account. So look forward to seeing everybody here at 815 Columbia Avenue. Come and see us, and Tony and I are always willing to help. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Great to see you guys, and we'll talk with you soon. So, Patrick, we're going to move on into our program and invite Eric back, and maybe Mayor Moore if they want to join us to talk about. So we've got our new office is all in place here, and we're excited for our new sign, but very proud to have hanging behind me our All America City banner from 2020. Franklin was named an All America City for being recognized as a city that can leverage civic engagement, collaboration, inclusiveness, and innovation to successfully address issues. And so we're so proud to have been part of the team that worked on that. Eric, what does being All America City mean to Franklin?
Well, it's a big deal. It's a great win for our community and really reflects well upon us. The first Tennessee city since 1999 to receive the award. So it is a great honor and a great example of being highlighted throughout the country as a city that is working hard to make our community better, to engage our citizens. We highlighted things like the Fuller story, Get Fit Franklin, Find Hope Franklin, the On the Table issue, On the Table project that we all worked on together, and the great work that the city and Franklin Tomorrow do together really stood out to the National Civic League as one of 10 cities to highlight for the rest of the country of some real positive things that we've been able to do together.
Patrick, you were one of the co-chairs of our On the Table initiative and actively involved in the All America City process. So do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's spot on. And I think a lot of people look at those, which by the way, thank you, City of Franklin, for putting the banners up all along Main Street, because even just the last couple of days, I've seen people posting on social media that it's very visible. But a lot of people think it's because, and we have such a wonderful, quaint Main Street and beautiful, but it's so much more than that. And Eric touched on that. This was not just about how beautiful, excuse me, and wonderful our town is. It's about the civic engagement. It's about the dealing with difficult conversations and us doing that in a civil way. So it's important to remind folks that yes, we have a wonderful, beautiful town, but this award really goes so much deeper, and it should make us even more proud because of that.
Mayor Moore, do you have any thoughts on being an All-America City and what we can do with it and how we can move forward?
Well, I'm just extremely proud that we were able to win in the competition along with some other great cities who had some great projects. But I think highlighting that it was a partnership, highlighting that it was not really focused on the beauty of our city or the uniqueness of our geography. It was about initiatives to make our community a better place to live and work and raise families. And so great honor to have it, and just thanks for the partnership.
It was difficult, meaning we couldn't really celebrate and come together in 2020. But we're looking forward, Franklin Tomorrow, we're looking forward to continuing our process of having meaningful conversations as we did with On the Table a few years ago. And we are excited to announce today that a new initiative that we'll be undertaking this spring, and that is the National Civic League's All-America City Civic Index. The Civic Index is a self-assessment tool that is provided by the National Civic League and is used by cities and agencies across the country for measuring a community's civic capital. Franklin Tomorrow plans to initiate the Civic Index by asking community members and organizations to participate either in the Civic Index conversations being held during the month of April, or take the Civic Index assessment independently during the latter part of April. We'll be recruiting people to participate as facilitators for this conversation, and the Civic Index will measure 7 areas of civic capital, which is what creates the sense of community. So things like engagement, inclusivity, diversity. We'll be looking at all those things and using this tool to move forward and keep this momentum of what Franklin Tomorrow has done in the past 20 years and in our partnership with the City of Franklin. So Patrick, I know you'll be actively involved in this, and we hope to have the results sometime this summer, which will dovetail nicely. I think, Eric, y'all are planning to undertake the National Citizen Survey. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of the things we've done, and actually our first partner when we did it in 2012 was Franklin Tomorrow, to do a survey of our citizens. We measure lots of things. We measure response times and investment and the progress on projects. But we also want to know the perceptions of our citizens, their experiences, what is important to them in terms of what we're doing well and what we need to maybe continue to focus in on. And so this is a great complement to that. We've done that survey in 2016, in 2019, and we'll do it again in 2021. And it is a great way for us to gauge our progress and the perception of our citizens. And this will be an even better complement to that, to go in more depth about engagement and other key issues that really help make the fabric of a community. So I think it's going to be a wonderful complement, and we're thrilled to work again in partnership with Franklin Tomorrow and the broader community.
And Patrick, we're not going to let a little thing like isolation keep us from having these conversations, right? We've
got some great partners that are going to allow us to do this virtually. And so that's exciting. But also just to point out that on the we did the initiatives called On the Table in the past, and so many respondents, and I believe in the citizen survey as well, said that citizens want to understand and know how to get involved and engage and civic enterprises. And so this is going to help us. This is a reaction to that as well. Just another tool in our tool belt to further the mission of Franklin Tomorrow and the goals of the city together. So thank you for your partnership.
And thank you to the city for being a partner, but also our great partners are Vulcan Materials and Gresham Smith, as well as Chandler Thinks, which is going to be our research partner for the outcomes. So we're so excited to let you know that we're going to be doing this and begin recruiting facilitators for those conversations that will be part of the Civic Index. And then we're going to look forward to the fall when we anticipate and are planning to do community conversations where we'll actually be back in person and be together and maybe culminate with a great community event where we can celebrate not only these conversations, but being an All-America city. So we're really excited about 2021 and our 21st year of being part of the city of Franklin. So we're excited about all of that. And thanks to our partners. And our first partner all along for those 21 years has been the city of Franklin. And many people ask, our mission is to engage the community, foster collaboration, and advocate for a shared vision for the future of Franklin. We do that independently with some support from the city, but the city is our partner, and we look forward to having effective government and leadership in our community. And sometimes people with as fast a growth rate as we have here in Williamson County don't always understand how government works. It might have been different where they came from. So today we're going to have the ABCs of city government, and we're going to learn a lot about city government. So Eric, we're going to turn it over to you and Mayor Moore and allow you to share your screen so you can walk us through the ABCs of city government. So thanks, Eric.
Great, thank you. I'm going to pull my screen up here, and Mayor Moore and I will kick it off. And you're right, exactly. We sometimes just assume everybody knows these things, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we are giving you the basics, helping you understand the structure and how it works. We work really hard to be first and foremost a community service team, that we're all about serving our citizens, making the community a better place to live. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the structures that help us do that, and how your voice is heard through elected officials, and how our staff team works in partnership with that to serve and make Franklin the best city it can be. So that's what we'll talk about today. I'm going to run through probably 5 or 6 quick slides here that give you some real basic nuts and bolts. And then Mayor Moore and I are going to have a conversation about our roles and our relationship, mayor and city administrator. And then we'll bring Alderman Speedy on to talk about an alderman's role, especially a ward alderman's role. And then we'll have Lisa Clayton, who's our parks director, talk about what a department director does and how that relates to this as well. So hopefully those conversations will be helpful and meaningful in helping you understand our structure and how things work and the basics, the ABCs of city government. So let me just roll through here a couple things. First of all, the elected leadership, most important in terms of setting that vision, and the people that represent our citizens and are selected through election to serve those key leadership roles. And the mayor serves as the chief elected executive officer of the city. He reports to the board annually about the state of the city that is coming up this spring, and we're excited to do that. I think May 12th is our date for that, so stay tuned, more information on that. He chairs those board of mayor and alderman meetings, but he rarely votes. He only votes in case of a tie, so that's one element right there. He's responsible for enforcing our ordinances and overseeing, and sort of serves that executive role. If you think about the branches of government that you learned about in school, the mayor is our executive role from the elected official standpoint. Then aldermen, we have 8 aldermen, 4 represent the wards in the city. They're divided up into 4 wards, and 4 are elected at large. They are elected for 4-year terms, but the terms are staggered. So this fall, we will have an election for the ward aldermen. So those 4 seats will be up, and those that win those seats will be in those seats for 4 years. We have an added seat this year with the passing of at-large Alderman Pearl Bransford. We will have a special election to fulfill the remaining 2 years of that term, also in October. So they basically are more of your legislative branch, if you think about the branches you learned about in school, and their job is to approve ordinances, adopt the budget, and take those measures. Again, we have elections every 2 years, and the at-large aldermen are voted on by the entire city, of course, and they are elected at the same time that our mayor, who is separately elected, is also goes through the election process. So that's the basics there. They are the representatives of our citizenry. They do the approvals of ordinances and budgets and those sort of things. And we meet twice a month on the second and fourth Tuesdays. The way this board has chosen to work, and I think it's worked really well, is we do a work session at 5 o'clock and a voting session at 7 o'clock. So the work session is informal. We don't take votes, we have discussions. There is a published agenda. You can see the topics, and staff frequently presents an idea or an issue, gives some alternatives, recommendations, and then there's a discussion, but formal action isn't taken until the 7 o'clock meeting. And typically you don't see those on the same night. So that's how that process works. So here are the wards. These are the 4 wards. They are roughly equal in population. That way our citizens are represented equally. We will get the census numbers this fall, and after the ward election, we will probably redraw these lines a little bit to make sure they remain relatively equal. We try not to ever split up a neighborhood, but we try to make sure they're about the same population per ward. So we might adjust some lines depending on how the population numbers came out, and that'll be something we'll do later in the year. So there you see the wards. Here's our organizational chart. This is kind of standard what you might see in a corporate structure, but you see the citizens are at the top. They select our mayor and our alderman. I, as city administrator, am the one employee that is hired by the board. And so they select me, and I work in the role as overseeing the day-to-day operations and as the lead administrative person for our city team. And then you see the folks that report to me, the police chief, fire chief, our city attorney, our human resources, communications. And then I have 3 assistant city administrators who help run the day-to-day operations. And they are in 3 broad categories of finance and administration, public works, and our community and economic development. And that's Christine Brock is our CFO and Assistant City Administrator for Finance and Administration. Mark Hilty is our Assistant City Administrator for Public Works. And that includes water, parks, solid waste, sanitation, and water management. And then the community and economic development is Vernon Girth. And that's like our planning, neighborhood services, engineering, those functions. So city administrator, as I said, I'm the one employee that the board formally hires. My job is to run the day-to-day operations of the city. I work with the board members on constituent questions and services. Also, all the department directors report to me or through the assistant city administrators to me. And that's my job, to run the day-to-day operations. I recommend a budget every spring for our fiscal year, which starts July 1. And so that's part of my responsibilities as well. So department heads really each have their own unique responsibilities. And that is, the functions that relate in our city ordinances or code of ordinances that they're responsible for. They work through those and make sure they're fulfilling those, and they oversee the day-to-day operations of their department as well. All right, I'm going to stop with the screen sharing here, and I'm going to move to a conversation with Mayor Moore. Hopefully I ran through that fairly fast, but gives everybody a little bit of the basic background of what's in our city charter, what's in the city ordinances, about our roles and responsibilities. But Mayor, let's talk about the kind of the real deal. Tell us what you see your role as mayor. It's a job you've done for what now, 11, 12 years now, or something like that. I lose track, but you've been doing it a while and doing it well. And tell us about what you see as your primary focus.
Well, I think the first thing, Eric, you've outlined what our city charter, our municipal code says about the mayor, and really it's a pretty broad brushstroke as far as what my duties are. When I was looking at that last night, I got my feelings hurt a little bit because the website said, what is an alderman, but it didn't say what is a mayor. So I think that gives me just the opportunity to have a lot, to do some things that maybe are important as far as recommendations to the board. And and that's where a lot of the activities that I do come from. One thing you didn't mention was that I do have the ability to declare a state of emergency, which we did exercise that power in the past, and we don't take that lightly. I think the really important thing is the delegating the authority to run the city to Eric. Eric is our chief operating officer. I act more like the CEO. My role is much broader than what's been described, because I do represent the city regionally on a number of different operations, such as the Regional Transit Authority, the Greater Nashville Regional Council, the Transportation Policy Board. I currently chair the Mayor's Caucus, and I'm part of the Tennessee Municipal League and currently in the presidential line there, and then also part of the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee. So the work that I do is much greater than just coming to chair a meeting, and much greater than having to vote about 5 or 6 times since 2011.
Well, and but the chairing of a meeting is an important responsibility. It really does help in terms of how we flow and make decisions and make sure that voices are heard. So a lot of times we sort of skim over that, but it is important to do well, and something you do very well in terms of making sure the aldermen are all heard and the discussion is facilitated, but also our citizens are heard as we have discussions. What just reflect on a little bit, and you mentioned the regional leadership piece, which you have chosen to take on, which we benefit from greatly. Talk about what you resonate with most. What gives you the most satisfaction in the job as mayor?
Well, certainly, I'm excited whenever we get awards and recognized as the great city that we are. But there are certain initiatives that I've been involved with that I think that are very, very important long-term, that have an important impact on our community. I think of Columbia State. I think of some of the commissions that I have had the opportunity to appoint and be part of. You know, those are the things I take great pride in. I take great pride also in the fact that we do get a lot of people that visit our city and see that we're doing things in a very professional, transparent fashion. And I think that's a great tribute to the team that Eric has built, and also this great board that we have.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the relationship between mayor and city administrator. It's a job I've been doing. Mindy asked a question about 12 years. So at the first of the year was my 12th anniversary as city administrator. And let's talk a little bit about that relationship between mayor and administrator and how we work together, and talk. I'll let you start and then I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, I think you are the only employee of the board, and my role is to nominate you to the board to be our city administrator. And philosophically, I have no desire to run the city. I don't want to run the police department, the fire department, the streets department. And I appreciate your professional background, that you have that knowledge and ability to do that, and I delegate that to you gladly. But I think that first of all, you know, there are issues that citizens bring to me that I bring to you for us to discuss and try to find resolution on. There are times where we sit down on to review the agenda and talk about those items to make sure that I have clarity in my mind as I try to move to the meeting and lead the board on those discussions. But I think we do a pretty good job of communicating with each other and sharing thoughts and sharing what we think is going on in the community and have those discussions.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the interesting parts of the job and of my job is to really try to connect elected leadership and the vision that you have and the board has for the community with a really capable professional staff. And so that communication that you and I have are really important for translating that into direction to our staff team, but also talking back to you to get direction back and feedback on how we're doing, what we need to focus in on, whether it's a board agenda. And we meet every Monday to talk about agendas that are coming up and what's in the pipeline and what those topics might be and what kind of information do we need to provide for the board members so that they are in a good position to make an informed decision. And so, my job is apolitical. I mean, I'm not in the elected sphere, but I am charged with sort of helping the process work. And so that really happens best by us communicating regularly and talking about what we're hearing in the community, what's going on in the organization, but in the community, and how we connect those two. And I always appreciate that. And it's an important task, and there's not one way to do it. It is an ever evolving experience in terms of what the needs are in the community, but having that regular communication that you and I have, and I try to have open communication and information sharing with all the aldermen so that they can always share information with me, concerns, and we all work on it together. And that's really the way the system works best, is aligning elected leadership with professional staff leadership and what we want to get done together.
Well, your emphasis on the staff is so important. And for people that may be new to the city or people that aren't familiar with our operations, we have an extremely talented city staff from the top of each department down to the lowest area. So I always brag about our staff, about how smart they are, about how dedicated they are. And there's so many great stories about our folks and how they have so much pride in their work. And I get those letters. And one of the things I always do, if I get them and Eric has not gotten them, I like to share those positive comments about our workers.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Eric, you work full-time, which I think full-time for you means 60 hours a week. And Mayor, you work part-time, which sometimes means 40 hours a week, but your role is as a part-time mayor, correct?
Well, I've heard some people describe me as a weak mayor. So I don't take that I really am a weak mayor. I don't have an inferiority complex there. I think it's really the fact that I don't get to vote very often. But I spend a lot of time. I like working, number one, but I also feel that given the position that we're in with the city, being recognized as a leader all across the state and everything that we do, it's very important that I'm involved in doing the things that I think are important to continue to grow our city and various things that we're trying to do in addition to picking up garbage and working on our streets. We're working on the health of our community. We're working on making sure that people understand who their neighbors are, relationships. And so there's just a lot to the job.
Absolutely. And Mayor, you talked about the regional leadership that you have played a huge role in and continue to. The Mayor's Caucus represents really all of the cities in Middle Tennessee, cities and counties in Middle Tennessee, a couple million population when you add it all together. And that's a role you've served a couple different times. But you also play a critical role in connecting the broader community. Talk about your relationship with County Mayor Rogers Anderson, with the other mayors in Williamson County.
Well, I think that the relationships that all the mayors in Williamson County have is I don't know if unique is really the right word. I think, unfortunately, many counties, the county mayor and the city mayors don't really get along. We have a regular dialogue, and particularly during the pandemic, we've been on the phone with all the mayors at least once a week and sometimes 2 or 3 times a week discussing the pandemic. But we also have opportunities to discuss other things going on in the county. And one initiative we have right now is we'll be discussing future land use in the county. And so I think those are exciting times, but it's about relationships. I have a great relationship with Mayor Anderson. He and I always don't agree 100%, but I'd say about 99% of the time we do. And I think that Rogers is a great leader and he helps build consensus among all the mayors.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Moore. I hope you'll stay on with us. Let's go ahead and bring in Alderman Scott Speedy. Scott is in his first term as an alderman. He's serving as a ward alderman, Ward 3. And we're going to have Scott talk a little bit about his role, what he's learned. It's especially interesting because he's the most recent elected alderman. So he's gone through this learning curve. And Scott, share with us just your reflections on the job and what you've learned in the last, 3.5 years or so in doing this job.
Absolutely. Of course, I do. I still feel like the rookie. I'm almost 4 years in. A lot of institutional experience on the current board. And I appreciate that because they've kind of brought me under their wing and taught me stuff. I tell people a lot that I've lived in Franklin since 1981, and I felt like I really knew a lot about the city of Franklin. But I've greatly enhanced my knowledge and appreciation of everything that goes on behind the scenes that the city does. I joke that you just take your water bill, for example, you took it for granted and you just don't realize how important water, sewer, stormwater, trash, sanitation are to how well the city is run. So yeah, it's been a great experience. I think people always, they know that we have the twice a month meetings, right? The BOMA meetings at 7 o'clock. And I would tell them that is the tip of the iceberg of what they see in those 2 meetings has been vetted thoroughly to get to that point in the city, right? It's all the committees, the commissions that we all serve on. It's the citizens' input. It's the business owners' input. It's all that process to get to that. And we've talked about how transparent the city is. So I encourage people all the time to say there's no backroom dealings. Everything is televised. Everything's recorded. We want citizen input in the city of Franklin.
That's great. So talk about what you spend most of your time on as an alderman. You get constituent requests, you get all the information we send you for meetings that you review, and you're on different committees that you represent the city on. Talk about where you spend your most of your time, or what is the most demanding part of the job from your perspective?
Sure. Maybe I'll do it kind of 3 steps, but maybe almost like a month in the life of an alderman. Obviously, we got the twice a month meetings, the work session, the BOMA. And then 4 of us are going to serve on the Budget and Finance Committee, and the other 4 aldermen will be on the Capital Investment Committee. I happen to be on Budget and Finance, and then we're all going to be on various commissions. And all those commissions and committees generally meet once a month. I happen to be on Civil War Historical Commission, Housing Commission right now, Development Advisory Commission. And so, you got some preparation for all those meetings and occasionally a subcommittee meeting. Then I would say, second thing, probably as a ward alderman, and maybe the at-large don't deal with, is the phone calls or the emails about the abandoned car in the front yard, the noise that's coming through a subdivision, the smells that come through a subdivision. Maybe they feel like somebody's violating an ordinance. Construction work on the weekend, that's been a recent one. Mm-hmm. So I get to forward those to Director Tom Marsh over at Building and Neighborhood Services, and his team they're phenomenal. They respond immediately. And I think a lot of times the citizens just don't know, who do I contact? Do I call Mayor Moore about this? No, don't bother him about that. So I think I get a lot of those Building and Neighborhood Services calls. A lot of all the concerns about speeding, right? Everyone has speeding concerns in their neighborhoods. So Adam Mosier's been forwarded a lot of emails from me as well about talking to citizens about our traffic calming program. Right. Try to, jokingly let citizens know that we didn't build those streets as our playgrounds for our kids.
Yeah.
They need to yell car and get out of the way. But definitely some speeding concerns. And then I think at different times of year, we get a lot of questions, confusions about the bulk brush, trash, the blue bins. Why did we change? What's going on there? And again, forwarding on those to Nate and Jack Tucker, and just Melvin's being a facilitator as a ward alderman for a lot of those things.
Yep.
Then I would say probably, and that's just your standard monthly duties. But then I think the bulk of our time really is spent on the fact that Franklin is an all-American city.
Yep.
People want to move here. And so we have that double-edged sword or problem of there's jobs here and people want to move here. So there's growth and there's infrastructure issues. There's the water, sewer. And so anytime, there's an Envision Franklin amendment request or rezoning or development anywhere, I guess we see it initially from even the neighborhood meetings. And some people get angry about neighborhood meetings, but that is part of the process. We want to notify neighbors. We want to hear their input before it gets to, they've already met with planning staff, but then it gets to joint conceptual, the planning commission, and BOMA. So again, that's why I say it's the tip of the iceberg when you see an item, at least for second or third reading for sure at BOMA. And so a lot of those are the coffee meeting requests or now the Zoom meeting requests to, hey, are you going to support this? Or are you going to support this density? Or are you going to support this rezoning or amendment, Envision Franklin amendment? And, those developers and builders or whoever the citizens are, they've got to meet with all 8 of us individually, because we can't just go sit down individually, as a group, because of the sunshine laws. So I think a lot of people don't realize that process as well. And so, yeah, that's probably where especially if it's contentious, we're going to have multiple meetings and we're going to hear from multiple citizens. And we do prefer individualized emails and not the forum emails.
Yeah, sometimes you'll get the same email over and over again. That is not as effective as
We
if
did,
you
correct,
write
yes.
your own message. just a hint for citizens when they're trying to be heard on the topic.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right. So one other question for you. Just when you reflect on the job,
Yeah.
what do you find most rewarding in the work, and what is the most challenging part in your view?
I think the most rewarding is when you're able to actually help a citizen or a business owner go through the process, because it's just, they can be overwhelmed or don't know where to go. And time is money, and you can get an answer for them or help them through, that's not possible. Or just they understand the city government. I think that's rewarding. The most challenging is, again, I think social media can be frustrating. I try to stay off of it sometimes. But generally, when people maybe at the last minute assume something is being done very quickly, which it hasn't been, it's been going through the process for a year. That's frustrating. But again, when you talk to people, they're always very reasonable. But sometimes the emails and the social media can be a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But again, it's been a joy to work with the city staff, the other aldermen. Again, I think we take a very diligent, thorough vetting process for anything that's going through the city.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Anything else you want to share? We're going to bring Lisa on and talk about the department director perspective, but anything else you want to throw in there?
No, if I come back as a department director, I want to be Lisa Clayton, because everyone loves parks. Everyone loves parks.
That she does it well too. That's a great segue. Well, thank you, Scott, for sharing that.
Thanks.
All right, Lisa, come on down. You're our next contestant on City Hall on Wheels, City of Franklin ABCs. So Lisa is our parks director. She has been here for many years. She must have been hired as a small child.
Very small, very young.
But Lisa runs our park department. She has really been here through a lot of growth and change in the city and in her department. She literally started off, I think, with a handful of employees and now has a much larger team, very capable team, and is building out an award-winning park system here in Franklin. So, Lisa, first of all, talk about your experience as a department director, how you see that role, how it plugs into what we're doing as a broader city team.
Well, thank you, and good morning to everyone, and thank you for having me. It's such an honor to kind of serve as kind of the representative for my colleagues, because as Eric said, and the mayor and Alderman Speedy, the people who work, especially the directors and assistant directors and city administrators, it's an amazing team. It's an amazing collaboration of all of us as we come from different parts of the country. And I think that has really provided a diverse set of ideas and opinions as well as talents. So I think that is one of the most important things. But as a director, really, we're responsible for leading the department. That really is about the leadership. We're responsible for smaller departments. We may have departments that only have areas that might have 4 or 5 employees, whereas we have some that are ranging up to 150, 160. So we've got over 800 employees in the city, and it's very important to understand that through each of those department directors, it's about also understanding what the leadership responsibilities are within the roles of the supervisors throughout the chain of command, those trainings that we send them to. It's so important. So many people have specialized training or certifications within the city. And so it's always important that we've been very diligent in making sure that we're able to send those people to those conferences or receive those certifications. And that's important to employees who want to further their career as well as receive that training at that time. Also, then you're looking at day-to-day operations. You know, we're very diverse to where it might be to where you're looking at from streets to police department to working with county agencies. You just never know. So there is such a collaboration on day-to-day operations, and we collaborate with each other. A lot of times I think people believe we work in silos, and that is not the case. You may work in a silo within your department for a short period of time, but there is collaboration between all of the departments. And so I think that's what kind of sets us apart, really. And then you're looking at budget. Budget kind of makes the world go round. And what it does, it allows for us to really enhance our capabilities. We have general fund budget. We also have the capabilities within parks. We have facilities tax as well as hotel motel. That's where your tournaments and other tourism type activities come into play, but also that other departments have, it might even have the facilities tax, that new development is coming into play. So there's a tax within that new development to pay for their proportionate share. So without those funds and without looking at partnerships throughout our city and the way we do work, I think that's so important. But again, it's the collaboration within each other. It's being inclusive as the department director. And it's also, you know, we work closely with all the commissions and the board members and planning commissions. And it's good to have those relationships. It's good to be able to sit down, as Alderman Speedy said, when there's an issue or there's a concern, being able to speak through you and speak through our other assistant city managers is very important.
All right, so talk about what you find most rewarding in the job and what maybe is the most challenging part from your perspective.
I kind of piggyback off what Alderman Speedy said. The most rewarding is to be able to respond to a citizen or even our employees, that you're able to really be able to see how something came to fruition and their concern was addressed. The other challenging part would be is sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it might be it's just the point of priorities that we have already set. And so a lot of times when you're looking at it in a silo, it's hard to see that there's a bigger picture. And so that can be frustrating, but we're all working toward the same goal.
Absolutely. Okay. So you're one of our longest serving department directors. As I said, you clearly started as a young child, and that's great. But what have you seen change in the community and in the organization? What stands out to you when you reflect on that time? Talk about what you've seen in terms of change and both how the organization functions, but in the community, broader community as well.
Sure. So in April 15th, I started my day on tax day. My anniversary will be this. I'll start my 19th year, and I'm so thankful to being a part of this. I started as a young director from a small agency as a director in East Tennessee and Jonesboro, Tennessee. I probably, from the department and the city standpoint, I've seen areas grow. When I first came upon board, the IT department didn't exist, stormwater didn't exist. There are areas within other departments that really now you've got to have all of that technology. All of us work together so closely. And that really makes a difference for what I've seen in the community at large is we're able to provide services that people have no clue that didn't exist at one time. And now it is just the way in which we do it, and it's flawless. And so as things grow, I think our process for the way we respond, the way we manage projects throughout the city, that might be through a development project all the way through a capital project. It takes every department to weigh in on that. And that used to not be here when you were a smaller city, because when I came on board, there was around 35,000. So we've grown since then, but we've also grown internally and also with our infrastructure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So is there something that you're particularly proud of that you've been able to be a part of at the City of Franklin?
Oh, wow. I will jump up and down if Bicentennial Park can be completed at some point in time before I retire. However, I am so proud of the partnerships from Franklin Tomorrow to Friends of Franklin Parks to Franklin Baseball Club, the county recreation. Those partnerships are as strong as ever. And it takes that in a community that's thriving. And I think that's one of the best things that we have going.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And that's one of your great strengths is you recognize that we can't do it alone, and we're better when we do it with partners. And you found that, be it Franklin Baseball or the Cowboys or the county or Franklin Tomorrow, like you said, Friends of Franklin Parks was born out of that. And that has been a great avenue for us to get things done and bring new partnerships and help a whole other element layer to how we can get things done for our community in our parks. And that's just a great thing. All right, Lisa, what else is there? Anything else you want to share that you had thought about that people need to know about being a department director in the City of Franklin?
No, I don't know of anything at this time, but I'm just so thankful again that we've got such an amazing team as department directors. We've got over 30 people on our leadership team, and it takes every one of us to make this happen. So thank you so much to them.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. And congratulations on that 19th year anniversary coming up. That's great. And your contribution has been tremendous, and we look forward to that continuing for many years to come. All right, so that's our conversations that cover some key elements of what elected leaders do, what an appointed leader like myself does, what appointed department directors do, and really help serve the city. There's lots of other information available. Let me just pull up real quick, if I can, the city website. And that is a great source. There's all sorts of information there. You can actually, there's that I want to on the right-hand side. You click on there, you can do service requests 24/7 in terms of, say there's a pothole you want to see addressed, you can file it through there, and we track our responses through that. It goes right to the proper department and they address it. And I think last time I checked, our closure rate for things that were reported through there was less than 3 days. So, and that includes some projects that take a very long time because they may involve different interactions with, say, a property owner. So the fact that that is 3 days or less most of the time tells you that we pay attention to that and try to respond very quickly to the needs that come through there. Our social media platforms are very active and vibrant places. We have over 41,000 followers on Facebook now. We're a city that's probably a little over 80,000. So there's a lot of folks tracking through those avenues, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are all areas that we work with very closely, especially our communication team. So there is lots of ways that we try to stay connected to our community. As Alderman Speedy referenced to, we try to be extremely transparent. All of our meetings are available for you to watch. And our decision-making process happens right there, whether it's in a work session or a voting meeting or a committee meeting. It's all right there out in the open. And through our website, you can also get all of the agenda materials. You can see everything that is in front of our board. You see the same material through our website. And that's the information they have to make their decisions. So again, we want to encourage you to engage. That is what makes Franklin a true community and a place that we all love to be a part of. So I'll stop there and bring Mindy back on here. And if there's anything else we want to share, I think all of our participants are still on the line as well. If you would like to have any other questions asked or anything that we didn't touch on that we should have.
Well, I do think the city website's a great resource, as well as your YouTube channel and your City of Franklin TV that most people can pick up, because it's amazing to see the number of people watching those meetings alongside us, or seeing them now that you can watch them on Facebook Live. And that's been sort of the advent or benefit somewhat of the pandemic, putting us into having those meetings electronically, right, Eric? I think that's been good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've learned some things. Alderman Speedy referenced neighborhood meetings. We've done neighborhood meetings through the virtual platform Zoom. And staff has told me in certain cases, we've actually had better participation in a virtual meeting than we did in person. So there may be some things we learn, and we may blend the in-person and virtual together somewhat when we're through the pandemic time that we're working through. And again, the numbers are encouraging. We're making progress, but we're not there yet. We're in the last mile or two of the marathon, so let's push through it. But when we get through it, we will have learned some things. And I think that will be a positive for us long-term in terms of how we connect to citizens and to one another.
For sure, definitely. And Mayor Moore has been, one of the programs that he has started in the last 2 years has been the Find Hope Franklin initiative, and worried about and concerned about mental health and suicide prevention, as well as substance use disorder. Mayor, I think you're still on here. But last week we had a great milestone in that 11 people in our community were trained to be able to provide the question, persuade, and refer training through a grant associated with Vanderbilt Community Health. And I know that's been important to you.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Mindy. And I plan on using the same photo you're sharing with me, if I can, in our miscellaneous reports tomorrow night at our board meeting. You know, when we became one of the healthier communities in Tennessee, we recognized 4 different aspects of health in our community: obesity, tobacco cessation, activity, and mental health. And the hardest one we've had to get much discussion and traction around has been mental health. So the Blue Ribbon Panel, which is now known as Find Hope Franklin, with the support of the city, studied mental health and as far as how we wanted to approach it. And we thought that, number one, it was important to start a discussion, destigmatize conversation about mental health. We were concerned about suicide. We were so concerned about the availability of resources, or at least information about the available resources. And finally, we identified that it is important to train people. I mean, it found that it's also important long-term to try to maybe have a facility rather where patients in mental health crises could go rather than jail and the emergency room. So,
And we're glad to have been a part of this. But our class last week involved representatives from the Franklin Special School District, the Hispanic community, the senior community, the faith community, as well as police, fire, and other areas of local government, as well as our community. And we also, later this month, have planned a series of QPR training, question, persuade, and refer, which will be March 29th and March 31st. And each of those 2 days, there will be 2 sessions, free sessions offered of a 90-minute program that our community members can register for and attend. And you often say that QPR should be as familiar as CPR.
absolutely. We're talking about life and death situations. And certainly CPR has been very popularized as far as the way we save lives. And so QPR, similarly, I think that all of our communities should know what QPR. And as you pointed out, we've trained all those folks that you just mentioned have been trained to be trainers. That was a day-and-a-half course. Now what we're doing is we'll have another tranche of train the trainers, and we'll be populating that course, but also these shorter sessions are more like a smaller version that helps people understand what questions to ask, how to persuade somebody, and where to send them.
And now those people that were trained last week, those 11 people, are able to speak to a community group or provide that level of training to a community or neighborhood or PTO, any church group, any group that might be available or interested in having that training. And you just need to, right now, call Franklin tomorrow and we'll try to put that together for Find Hope Franklin. But we really appreciate that initiative for sure. It's been great.
Why don't you just make that report tomorrow night during citizen comments on items not on the agenda?
We'll talk about that today. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. So thank you guys, and we're going to take care of a little housekeeping business with Franklin tomorrow. But thank you. I think we've just scratched the surface, and Eric's presentation was really just about the first 7 or 8 slides of his presentation. But with his approval, we'll put the full presentation on our website today so that people can learn more about the finance and the operational goals of the city, so people can have that information. So thank you, Eric, for sure.
Thank you.
So coming up this week is our 2nd episode of our new podcast, Front Porch Conversations. And Tom Lawrence and I, Tom Lawrence, the voice of Williamson County from WAKM Radio and a longtime Franklin resident, we were high in the sky talking at Avenida of Cool Springs at 222 Mallory Station Road, which was the former home of the WAKM Radio. So we really are looking forward to that. That will launch this Thursday. You can find it on our website, but you can also find it on Spotify. So just search Franklin Tomorrow on Spotify and subscribe, and you'll be notified when new episodes are released. And you can do the same thing on YouTube. We're very active on social media. We have a lot of channels that you can be part of. And so look for those and how you can be part of those and get information as we post it. We would ask you to support Franklin Tomorrow in our efforts to be part of our community. One of the great ways to do it is to consider purchasing a historic Franklin license plate when it's your time to renew your car tag at the county clerk's office. And also all donations to Franklin Tomorrow are tax deductible. Our upcoming events for March include March 11th, the Front Porch Conversations, March 29th and 31st, the QPR training. Our next Frank Talks will be April 12th, and then our next virtual Breakfast with the Mayors will be April 27th. So we're going to follow the guidelines, but also really try to keep everyone safe as we move into those final phases of this pandemic, hopefully, and move forward into being back together again. We want to remind you, we'd love to hear from you if you'd like to be part of the Civic Index facilitated conversations. You can email carly@franklintomorrow.org to learn more information, or just reach out to me, mindy@franklintomorrow.org. Thanks so much for being part of Frank Talks, being part of our engaged community as we come back together again in the future, in-person meetings where we can engage and collaborate to make Franklin one of the greatest places to live. We are an all-America city. Thanks. Go out and make it a great day, but stay safe.